Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Let's Talk Arsenal series, our twice weekly show on a Tuesday and a Friday, typically at 5 p.m. But with the Euros going on, of course, we are doing these a little bit different times during the day. And so today we're doing it at 3, which I apologise is the first show that we've actually done during one of the games. Slovakia-Sweden, of course, is on right now. I just checked the score and it's 0-0. Fingers crossed the Swedes can get through. We'd like to see Sweden go through. We've got a lot of Swedish links with the club. Daniel Ek, of course. We think about players like Anders Limpar, Sebastian Larsson, who used to be at the club as well, Kim Kallström. So many Swedish links at the club, of course. And it's certainly, I think, it's important to consider that these European Championships are really important for Arsenal, actually more important than you might think, because even though we have only a few players there, being able to identify players at the tournament is going to be really important. And that's something that Arsenal have seemingly been doing a hell of a lot of late, is identifying targets and seemingly bidding for them as well. And that's what we're going to be talking about on today's show, is Arsenal's transfer business in general on the whole, and getting your thoughts as well, not only in the chat box as we like to do, but also hopefully we're going to get a fair few of you on today to have a chat and a talk. We've already got a few people lined up to be coming on today's show, which is fantastic. And if you would like to come on the show and have your say about Arsenal's transfer business, maybe you've been watching the 8 a.m. shows and going, this guy doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. And maybe you want to tell me that I don't have a clue. And I'd love to have a debate with you guys, of course. So if you are over 18 and you've got a Twitter account that you can send me a DM over at the Gooner Talk TV, and you want to come on the show with a good camera, a good mic, good internet connection, and a quiet place to record, and you fit all of those different things that you need, then send us over a DM and we'll do our best to try and get you on. But we're going to kick off the show by obviously going through a lot of your thoughts and comments in the chat box. So let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's scroll right up to the top. Gregory says, of late, the Lokonga links have gone dead. What's going down with him? And will he play in the first team, if any case, if we sign him? I don't think you need to be worried about the talks going dead. I think it's just part and parcel of negotiations sometimes. And while we are aware that this deal is progressing well, there were some interesting links this morning. I think I told you a couple of weeks ago that Bayern Munich were one of the interested clubs, and they have supposedly put in a bid for him now as well, about 10 million euro. Basically, it's a loan deal with a 10 million euro obligation, which is nowhere near what Anderlecht want, if there is any truth in that rumour. Arsenal, of course, have already bid 50 million euros, which got rejected. And so Arsenal are looking now to agree a deal a little bit further on. Arsenal are still considered very much the favourites and are in a good position for this deal. So no, I don't think it's going to be like that. But you never know. Football is a cruel mistress at times. And of course, we can sometimes see Arsenal miss out on transfers that we were very seemingly happy to sign. Joel B says, Tom, do I have a crystal ball about what I could see with Arsenal's possible transfers? I mean, for me, what I would like to predict that Arsenal are going to do is have a really good summer window. But I say this to myself literally every single summer. I say that we are going to have a great window. And it's basically a willing it into existence kind of thing at the moment. Just Vance says Aouar as a number 10 and Madison as a number 8. I mean, swap those two around and you've got that pretty much spot on. Aouar is the more likely to play as your number 8. Madison more likely to play as your number 10. But it's one. I mean, I saw a link and I think it was, who it was that DM'd me? Azraf DM'd me before the show. Saying about a link from a certain newspaper that I'd rather not name, saying that we are back in for Aouar for around a £20 million fee, which, to be fair, even with my own reservations about Aouar, for 20 million quid, like, you can get a lot of more business done on top of that. So that is quite an interesting amount of money to pay for someone that was very, very much highly rated. And if we are indeed linked to him once again, I'll make sure to get a more updated tactical breakdown out on him for you guys, no problem at all. Sorry, Walk, that you can't join us for the show. Yes, if you have tuned in late, you could be appearing on this very show if you would like to. Just read the information that's scrolling along the screen. I was trying to work out which way it was actually scrolling. But yeah, if you read that, then there you go. It's not the most reliable source, exactly. Morning, Jared. I hope you're well. If you're free, Jared, why are you not coming on the show, son? You need to let me know. I don't care if you're working. You need to make 5 minutes of time for yourself. Oh, dearie me. I'm just checking on the Discord server, and Isoa is going to come on as well. Isoa, if you are listening, son, we'll get you on about 25 past, mate. Ebby says, thoughts on Awar and the pending £20 million bid for him. If it is true, okay, let's act in this kind of hypothetical world that Arsenal have actually bid 20 million quid for Awar. It would depend on the other business that we would do. I see Awar as a really good player that can play more so as an 8 than as a number 10, to be honest. I see him as someone that you could play alongside Partey with a number 6 behind him. Weirdly, we kind of have that already in Joe Willock, but obviously Awar we would consider as much more developed in that case. I have my reservations about Awar. I've said it many, many times that I just feel that his character and the way that he plays when Lyon aren't playing particularly well is not the type to then boost them and drag them to a victory. His performance is very much drop in line with how Lyon are performing. And if Arsenal are going for a rough patch, I'm not sure Awar is going to be the type of guy to drag us out of a rough patch. And I have a little bit of a problem with that leadership quality maybe being lacking. Yes, why do you think I'm wearing white? It's England Day, mate. It's England Day. So hopefully seeing us get a win over the Scots a little bit later on this evening. Ojo says, as much as I don't have hope in this Arsenal board and management, as always, Ojo, positive man, as we can expect, we can't have Vanilla and Foxtrot bantering us by both of Madison and Grealish. I mean, I very much would like, what do you mean Vanilla and Foxtrot? I've never heard that before. Buy both Madison and Grealish. I think if we were to buy both, you'd be living in some dreamland. And if that is your expectation, Ojo, I would say that you'd certainly need to probably lower them a little bit. The real Yanis says, scouting report wasn't impressive on Awar. They dropped the interest. So I think that's maybe why we preferred Partey over him last summer and why we went for him. We still should have gone and got a creative player. And that's why we struggled so much at the end of or rather at the start of last season. Steve Stone says the rumours are true that the Cronkies are going to spend big this summer. Do you think Daniel Ek's bid has anything to do with that? Firstly, as I said on this morning's show, to the best of my knowledge, the Cronkies aren't going to spend. So the most I'm aware, all of Arsenal's transfers are going to be funded through the club's own money, not from a cash injection from up high. That's what I'm aware of at this stage in time. So it's disappointing. It's frustrating. It is what it is. And that is a really... crippling is a word that I wouldn't use lightly, but it does feel a bit crippling that Arsenal aren't going to get that backing, especially during a window in which FFP has basically been scrapped and relaxed at this point, so we may as well push in for that. Yannick Max says, Awar for 20 million. Even if that doesn't work out, the chances we sell him on for more than that are fairly high, which is a very good point. Wow, I'm agreeing with Yannick Mac. It would be a decent signing for the money. And you think about the fact he's 22, 23. So you've got that capacity to have a lot of sell-on value, even if he doesn't do particularly well. And I reckon you could sell him somewhere else for that kind of money. Jess Vanth says, will Dumfries be a good fit? Again, I've talked about this a bit. I just don't really see Dumfries as too much of an upgrade on Callum Chambers at right back. And if we're going for a right back, we really should be going for a right back that's a real big upgrade and a top-class player that's going to take us to the next level. Does Dumfries get into above Reece James? No. Does he get in above Trent Alexander-Arnold? No. Does he get in above Kyle Walker or Cancelo? No. Does he get in above any of our top 4 rivals? Does he get in above Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Does he get close to any of those guys? No. If Arsenal want to close the gap to those teams, we need to be signing players that close that gap as much as possible. And I just don't think that Dumfries is the guy to do that, to be honest. Let's send a link to my first guest that's going to come on. As we said, if you would like to come on the show, then all you need to do is send me a DM over at the Gooner Talk TV, and we're going to be discussing lots of transfer news with lots of you hopefully going to be coming on throughout the show. We've already got a few guests lined up already. And so we're going to be discussing as much of that as feasibly possible. Ronnie says, I'm finding our business really slow. How it picks up within the next few months, or rather you hope it picks up for the next few months. We have a difficult start in August. I'm not sure if it's slow. If you look at all the business that everyone else is doing at the moment and where we are in the window, which is the 18th of June, we're just over a week into the window actually opening. And if you think that the windows of the European clubs don't open till a little bit later as well, I'm not sure that it is actually going so slow, but we'll see. Maybe things will change. But big up, Josh. Good to have you in the chat, mate. As always, absolute pleasure. Sahil says, Tom, I'm not jumping the gun, but it looks like we have learned a lesson and not just following one player rather than putting all of our eggs in different baskets. Mint says, I've missed a comment. Mint says, I'd like to know whose idea it was to get rid of Daniel Marlon and keep Nketiah. Well, they were at the clubs kind of, I think, at different times. Marlon was at the club about 4-5 years ago, and Nketiah's kind of come through in the last 3-ish. So I think there's reasons why Nketiah was brought through and Marlon actually wanted to go. Marlon felt he was already ready for the first team, and he may have been right, to be fair, but he actually pushed for the move, as far as I'm aware, when he did leave for PSV. JDM says, question, Tom, would you keep Willock or sell or loan? Personally, I would loan him. If we're going to, for me, it's not about a loan. Arsenal need money in this window. If you're going to keep him, keep him. If he's going to go, get a big fee for him, because he could go on loan like Ainsley Maitland-Niles has and it not really work out, which is a bit of a problem. So there you go. Let's scroll down to a couple of more questions. Akil says, Tom, would you rather Aouar for 20 million or Madison for 70? I always say it's not my money. I'd rather get the better player in any day. It does depend on who else we're able to sign. If you're telling me that we get Aouar for 20 million, but then we're going to get someone else or we can't get all the rest of our targets, then that might be a bit of a problem. Anyway, let's bring in my first guest of the day. It's Dushyant. How are you doing, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Hey, Tom. Hey, everyone.
How you doing, brother? You good? You good? Enjoying the transfer chaos, as always.
Oh, my God. It's been like chaotic, everything going on. So many links, so many stuff going on. Every day it's like new link. It's like a spinning wheel going on around. So many players.
It's like a raffle, like, you know, they're big wheels where they turn it around, they put out a ball, and it's like, oh, Madison today. That's what we're going to be talking about. Anyway, we've just been discussing, I suppose, a little bit kind of how slow Arsenal have been in some people's minds so far this window. I actually think it's still pretty early in the window to be worrying about getting loads of deals done. I'm quite calm at this stage. If we get into July and we've really not made too many signings by that point, then I'd start worrying. But do you think Arsenal are being a bit slow, or do you think this is still a bit of a chill period?
We already made 2 bids for, Ben White and, Lukonga already. So that shows that Arsenal mean business this transfer window, because we need many signings. So that already showcases that we are on the way, and it will take some time because we need many signings. So yeah, as you said, it will take till July early or July mid. So the signings to be done. So yeah, you are right. Exactly right. The business hasn't been so. Yeah.
No, sorry. Who's your number one at the moment? Who do you think who's the guy, when you've seen all the people that have been linked to us so far, you're like, yeah, I want that guy to be signed by Arsenal?
I think I will pick Madison. I think he will make a big difference to Arsenal. He has been injured for the previous season, but I still think the 3 years that he's been at Leicester City and previously Norwich City as well, I think he's better than Bundeya, much better than him, and I think he will make that difference.
Are you annoyed about the Bundeya situation? Did it annoy you that we didn't get him?
No, I think we are overrating Bundeya quite a bit, because I don't think necessarily he's worth 40 million or 33 million or whatever the bid was, and the Norwich City were like demanding so much from us, so we literally said that we won't be paying that much amount to you. So it was that simple. So yeah, and as Arsenal fans go, you already know, you were also like saying that Arsenal aren't showing that ambition. But I agree that we made a bid and then didn't carry on with the second bid. So it really creates quite a
complicated sort of situation.
Yeah, complicated. So are they sure what player they want to go for, or are they like confused? Are they not sure? So it's very it's like very confusing. So
yeah, no, I completely understand. It has been. It's confusing to see so many links in such a short space of time. And I remember doing like the shows last summer where we talked about all of Arsenal's transfers, and it seemed a little bit more gradual and it was kind of more focused. Like Aouar was a big figure, Partey was a big figure, Gabriel, of course, as well. Willian that got done very early, and then Runnison kind of came up in between, and David Raya was another one that came up. But this summer, I mean, I was put up an image on Twitter the other day, and we've already done 32 different tactical breakdowns.
I saw.
It's crazy how many we've had to cover already. And for you, when you're on Twitter, of course, as well, and you follow all the different things, it's obviously interesting to talk about kind of the social aspect of it. As a fan, scrolling through social media, do you find it stressful? Do you find it a real difficult period to try and keep up with all the transfer news?
Yes, absolutely. I think the social aspect has made it difficult to keep a transfer, quite silently. As the report came from the Athletic, as you must have read it as well, that Arsenal want to keep the signings as a secret or move quite secretly, as they said in the Athletic. But it's quite difficult with the social aspect because the agents are looking for huge sums. To get for their clients and for themselves, so it gets difficult. So they try to introduce clubs that aren't interested, like for example take Rodrigo de Paul. Arsenal weren't interested in him, so that's one signing that makes news. I would have liked Rodrigo de Paul at Arsenal. He likes interest me, the kind of player gets out of his seats, like Santi Cazorla, for example. So that's kind of a player that Arsenal need to get. And same for Martin Odegaard. If he's the number one signing, just get him. But yeah, I understand it would be like very expensive and that all and that thing. So yeah, it's very difficult to keep up with the transfer news because every second or every hour of the day, it's like a new signing is coming in. Like first it started with Julian Brandt, and now we have reached to the James Madison links. So like there is, it's like very crazy. Are Arsenal really like have a coherent plan, or are reports being sent out by agents? So it's like very complicated to judge what is exactly happening. So yeah.
It is really difficult to try and track and make sense of what's true and what's not. Anyway, thank you, Dushyant, for your time. Really appreciate that. Tell people where they can find you on your own channel. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description as well. So tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, guys, you can find me at Let's Talk Arsenal. Just started talking about Arsenal, giving my views on a weekly transfer show, doing my stuff, and giving my previews and everything. So yeah, you can find me on Let's Talk Arsenal, and also my Twitter. It's Dushyant AFC, so you can find me there as well.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated time. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Massive thank you to Dushyant for coming. I'm going to go for a couple through your comments, and then we'll get our next guest on as well. If you would like a chance to jump on the show and have your say on Arsenal's transfer window, just send us over a DM at the Gooner Talk T. As long as you're 18 and over, you can come and have a chat as well. Let's go to, I wanted to pick up on Joe's comment because it was quite a good one. Joe says, Tom, I feel that most summers the club posture rather than act, which is a really good way of putting it. While I still have my very big skepticisms and worries, these targets, not disregarding their prices, show urgency and intent, rarities seen here. And I certainly agree with him saying in the fact, especially Joe, that we talk about players being linked to Arsenal. We often get very disappointed at the level of kind of links to players. Like I remember last summer when we were being linked to obviously Willian at the beginning of the window, and then Gabriel's name came up, but not many people have really heard of Gabriel by this point. And it wasn't kind of the signings that we were expecting from a huge window in Arteta's first season. However, obviously, then the Aouars and the Partey started to pick up, but we were only really able to get in one of those. This summer, we're seeing some really big links already, and whilst they may not happen, it is more encouraging, and maybe it does go to show some of the intent the club has. Thank you so much, Vegas Gunner, for the super chat. He says, hi, Tom. We seem to be targeting players based in England, which is smart. Do you think Garlic has something to do with this? I think there may be an element of that, especially with his experience in the Premier League of working specifically for the Premier League. But I do believe that Arteta, having worked at Man City and knowing how successful a lot of the Premier League players that have joined that club were, has also realised that, hey, Arsenal have not been doing this for a hell of a long time, and it's something that we do definitely need to change. Anyway, let's get in my next guest on the channel. It is Michael. How you doing, mate? Are you well? Are you good?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very good. Good to have you on the show, mate. We're kind of talking about here about kind of the level of players that we're being linked to and kind of the notoriety, the popular levels of these players. Madison, we obviously know are very, very much so. Buendia previously, 50 million bids for centre-backs. Does it fill you with encouragement, or is it frustrating to you that we're not getting the business done as early as maybe some maybe want us to?
Well, that's a tough one because the part where, we have to finish our transfer business early, there are factors. The Euros are currently on. For some, that's not an excuse for some, right? But I personally think it's a factor. because they're going to be focusing, like a lot of players do, on their international games. The thing is, our squad currently has a lot of excess players, Guendouzi, Torreira, and others, depending on who you ask, Bellerin maybe. You can't, in my opinion, you can't get in more players before you first release them, because if something goes wrong, you're going to end up with a wage bill, that's absolutely enormous. So I genuinely see we first have to maybe say, we want this player, but at the same time, we first have to get that guy out. So let's say if we're looking at, Neves as a replacement for Xhaka, we have to get Xhaka out, because if he's a replacement for Xhaka, he's a replacement. He's not a substitute, So that's the first part. As for the quality of the players, I'm a bit skeptical, honestly, because, okay, we've signed Nicolas Pepe and Partey, right, which have been two massive signings. But I don't know how long Arsenal can sustain this type of development for buying players, let's say, in excess of 40 million, because we've seen Ben White linked for about 40, 50 million, right? Now, I genuinely think that we can improve in defense, because there's a whole team where we have to improve, defense, attack, midfield. Yeah. But how long can we begin splashing 50 million, 10 million here? Because let's be honest, I think our midfield is the priority. So if we, let's say, and it's pushing it, if we have 150 million to spend, we first have to see, we can't spend 50 million on a midfielder, another 50 million on a midfielder, and another 50 million on a centre-back, because it just doesn't make sense. It's not very Arsenal. I just can't see it, in all honesty. I don't see this happening, where maybe it's one signing of 50 million, but I'm not too happy with it, in all honesty.
Okay, so let's look about one of the players that is obviously looking about that amount of money, which is Ben White, is looking the most likely of those. He obviously, the link has split opinion. And initially, I'll be very honest, when I initially saw the Ben White link, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. That was my initial reaction. I know that sometimes, and we talk about it a lot, you need to take a step back, reflect, think about why is he actually costing that amount of money. And when we have reflected, it makes a bit more sense. I mean, we think about, we spent 28 million on an unknown French defender in Saliba. This is a guy that's played a year in the Premier League already. He's an England international now. He's got that English tax. He's helped Leeds get up from the Championship, and they desperately wanted to keep him. So maybe a 40 million figure seems about right, but now it's getting into the realms of the 50s. Does it worry you that if Arsenal are spending this much money on a centre-back, that it may detract from other areas of the pitch?
Well, I don't know what's going on in Mikel Arteta's head, in all honesty. Because
that's fine, this great.
No, I'm actually Arteta, but my thing is, he might be planning to swap to a back five, right? With 3 centre-backs and 2 wing-backs. Now, maybe he doesn't see Saliba, Gabriel, and any other holding, maybe, as a sustainable back 3. Maybe he wants someone who's going to be rock solid, and in his eyes, it's Ben White, and he needs to splash the cash for that. I don't know. If he's going to stay into a back 2, I don't know what exactly is in his head. That's what I mean. If he ends up having a back 5 next season, and I see Ben White, I've got absolutely no problem spending 50 million, because I think he might actually take the role of David Luiz in sort of maybe that ball-playing centre-back, and the guy who solidifies the defence in the middle. So I'm not too upset by that.
Do you think do you think about when we look at some of the other players that say we've been, or rather the fans want us to sign, this is kind of the toughest question, the Basuma situation, which is obviously something that the club really wants, or rather the fans really want us to see. What do you feel about that signing? Because obviously I'd like to see him sign, but there does seem to be this obsession around him. Do you think if Arsenal don't end up getting him, there could be yet another kind of meltdown in the fan base?
I don't think I know there would be another meltdown, because he has quality. He's a quality midfielder. Do we definitely 100% have to go for him? Possibly. It would help if we did. The majority of the fan base want him, but just like we saw with Buendia, right? There was an uproar at first, maybe a bit of an embarrassment, but there are replacements. As unlikely as it might sound, there's James Madison, for example, who's currently being linked. There are other players. So, the fans, I think, including myself, let's be honest, I'm going to be honest here, they set their hearts to a specific player. And that's our job, because we're fans, we set our emotions into things. But there are other players. Let's not forget, the Premier League's a tough league. Every team there has quality. I'm very sure that worldwide you've got quality. And if we can't splash the cash on a midfielder, then we should, I believe, invest in scouting. Do something like Leicester do.
Yeah.
we need a sustainable development, because currently I don't see us splashing the cash every year. So that's how I believe personally.
That's fine, mate. Thank you so much for coming on, Michael. Much
Thanks,
appreciate
Adam.
your time. Tell people where they can find you on the socials if you'd like.
I'm not really that much on social media, unfortunately. So
That's fine. I don't blame you.
I do it solo. Thanks for having me, man.
That's no problem at all. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. Appreciate your time. Awesome stuff. A massive thank you to Michael for coming on. Again, showing it genuinely, it does fill me with just such pride sometimes when you see the guys that come on, like Dushyant and like Michael. You guys are so informative and know so much about Arsenal and different things that you don't shy away from the questions. So if you would like to come on, you're over 18 years of age, you can, and you can jump in. I'm just going to quickly send a link. Basically, you may have seen this in many shows, like on TalkSport, or maybe if you live abroad, you have different phone-in shows. You have the presenter, and you have like a whole production team behind the scenes. Now, I'm doing this on my own, which is really difficult to talk, listen, answer questions all at the same time. So do bear with me if I look like I'm completely absent, because I'm probably sending links to different people. Let's jump into the chat box though, and I'm getting your chat box comments at the same time. It's mad multitasking is what it is. Let's scroll up a little bit more. PAPP says the Ben White makes sense, guys. Louise is gone. Saliba is not proving in the EPL. Marie Gabriel and Louise was injured last season at the same time. And I think if anything, we have learned from, if we think back to Liverpool's season last year, Liverpool, of course, was a hugely affected team. Van Dijk was gone. Matip was gone. Joe Gomez had gone. It's very quick that you can lose players and very quickly become very vulnerable and a little bit weak in that area. And just because we're signing Ben White doesn't necessarily mean that Saliba's not going to get that chance. And I suppose Saliba's a big kind of topic for conversation at the moment, and certainly one that we're going to focus on with some of our guests when they jump on. Thanks, guys. Much appreciate the support in the chat box. As always, you're absolute legends. While I've got a break at the moment, I am going to give a shout out to Football Prizes, who are our sponsors, as always, for these shows. At the moment, we have a Gilberto Silva shirt, which I'm just going to show you right now. Let me just throw on to that. Here we go. That's not the right one. Where's it gone? Chrome tab. There we go. See, professional as always. You can win this signed Gilberto Silva shirt if you go to the link in the description to Football Prizes. There is currently 48 tickets have been sold, so only half the tickets have been sold for this. But we do have one of our members that's going to win a free ticket, and we're also going to do that now. So if we go to the random number generator, we can go onto our Discord server and we can find out which one of our members is going to win the ticket for the competition. We've got 27 entries, which I think is the most that we've ever had in the Discord server. I'm going to click this 5 times, and fingers crossed, one of you guys is going to win a ticket into the draw for free. So you can check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's number 2. Wow, 27 entries, and we have to go all the way back to number 2, and that's Zane. Zane has won. He's actually one of our newer members in the crew, so congratulations to Zane. He has won a free ticket into today's competition to win a signed Gilberto Silva shirt. So massive congratulations to Zane. If you're watching on playback, there you go. But Zane is this week's winner of the competition. So he has got a free ticket. So if you'd like a chance to still win that signed Gilberto Silva Invincible shirt, you can. It comes with the certificate of authentication, so it's not fake. It definitely comes with all the things you need to make sure it's real. And yeah, they're at $5 a ticket, and there's only ever 100 tickets max, so you've got a good chance, and you can buy as many as you like. I mean, Jared Carver, one of our great listeners, has won a Bergkamp signed shirt and a Nicolas Pepe signed shirt, and they are up on his wall as well. And he puts them up very, very proudly. So there you go. He's in the chat. Congrats to Jared on winning those, legends. Let's get through a couple more of your thoughts in the chat box. Papa Boyle says Arsenal in 8th place. Does Ben White improve the team? Does Ben White help Arsenal get to the top 4? Great, sign him up. Which is always the things and the questions that we've got to kind of ask ourselves is, do they help us achieve our targets? I'm so distracted right now. I'm trying to sort out so much stuff at the same time while talking. MD, hi, Carl says, which is probably the hardest name I've had to say so far. I think with Buendia, Arsenal is trying their luck, which is why they didn't seriously follow up with the second bid. Now that he's gone off the list, they are revealing their first choice in Madison. Maybe so. And there is part of me that feels like Aston Villa are always targeting Emi Buendia. He was always their number 1, whereas Arsenal had quite a few, and we know that Martin Odegaard was the priority in that list. And so because of that, and because he was the priority, when they found out that he was going to be basically bidded for by Aston Villa, I think it sent them into a bit of a state of panic. And I just look at that and I go, I'm not sure if it was really as bad as I made it out to be at the time. But, we can always ask someone. And why don't we ask our fantastic member, Iso? How you doing, mate? Are you good? Are you well?
Hello, Tom. How are you doing? Everything well?
Yeah, very good. Oh, this is great. Your connection it's crisp. It's lovely.
Everything good.
There you go.
It's beautiful, right?
How do you feel about the Buendia thing? And like, I know that we feel like we're talking about this, and it's been weeks now since he left, but it does something that has kind of, in a way, really kind of branded this early transfer window stages as being a bit unsuccessful. Do you think it's affecting Arsenal? Or do you think it's very much a case of, look, that one didn't work out, and now we're moving on to the next target?
I prefer not to use that. I don't want to hear that name anymore. I'm actually, I don't want to hear that name. Because I don't really, the thing that he did, Aston Villa, the cheek of Aston Villa to even come for our young gun, Emil Smith-Rowe.
Yeah.
And to give him 25 million on top of the fact of how they mugged us off in the summer, right? Like 2 weeks before that, when they took Buendia, our main transfer target. That's Aston Villa. I want them to get relegated, just like Ty.
Oh, it's the Brighton hate now being reformed
like
for
Brighton,
Aston Villa. Yeah.
I don't like that.
What have you made of kind of the business so far? Do you think it is slow? Do you want to see things happen more? Because, I mean, I look at, say, United, I look at Chelsea, Liverpool, City. They're not doing anything. They haven't signed anyone yet. I mean, Liverpool have got Konate, obviously, but there's not much business going on right now. Do you think that there is maybe a desperation in the early stages to get some business done from the Arsenal fans? Or do you think, actually, no, they're well within their rights to be asking for transfers to be done early?
Well, Arsenal is a top 8 team right now, to be honest with you.
Sad, isn't it?
It's a sad thing. It's a sad state of affairs. But City actually have 2 football teams, 2 world-class football teams. Arsenal have half a football team, and they want to add on top of that. So that's why I expect them to be more urgent. There need more urgency in the transfer window. I don't see them being urgent. Garlic came, Edu came, and then who we had the German
had Raul Sanyehi and Sven Mislintat, and Husfami. So many.
Husfami, and then the scout that bought Mavropanos and
Sven Mislintat,
Sven Mislintat, him. So we had a couple of regime changes on like a couple of summers right now, okay? But the fact that it always ends up the same exact way, that's what's kind of making me like, what are we doing here? What is Arsenal coming up to? Like, we're not. I remember the times we were in 2004, I think so, when Arsenal was at its height, and Ramsey was in Cardiff, and there was a transfer battle between he would choose between who he would go to, either Manchester United or Arsenal. Now we're actually haggling for 20 million, 25 million for Buendia to join us or Aston Villa. That's how far we have dropped from where we were, basically. So Arsenal, I should cancel my name and put, when I enter the studio, as the depressed Gooner, not the deluded Gooner, or not Isoa, the depressed Gooner.
I think deluded Gooner. I think DG will have some words if you were going to try and take that off him. But of course. Let me ask you a couple more questions before I let you go. Then we're seeing some links, obviously some big players, but one of the really kind of key things about this window for me was seeing a change in the type of players that we were going for. Lokonga seems to be a bit of a change, going for someone who's kind of young but's already really got those leadership qualities at Anderlecht, 21 years of age, Belgium national already, has got a lot of praise and a lot of interest in the likes of Bayern, Dortmund, and Milan and Monaco. It seems different to me than what we've done in the past 5 seasons. Only like little signings like maybe Gabriel Martinelli and more recently, say, Gabriel from Lille. Do you think that's a real good sign that we're going for that style of signing?
He's the most excited player that I think Arsenal would get, for me, exactly, because Lokonga, Yeah, for me, he would be. I would actually be more interested in him coming than Bissouma. Bissouma, I'm not. The hype is over. I'm done with it. Like, is he coming or not? Whenever he puts his
Over.
the Arsenal shirt, whenever I see him wearing the Arsenal shirt, that's the time I'm gonna believe that he's actually an Arsenal player. But for now, خلاص, if he's not there right now, I don't care. I don't want to talk about him because what's the point? Ben White, same thing. We're gonna keep on talking about these type of players that cost 40 million, 60 million, upwards of that. I don't really care, Tom. I don't care. Either you come and wear the Arsenal shirt. Yeah, either you come wear the Arsenal shirt and take pictures and be cute and nice and play for the Arsenal, or just I don't care about you. I mean, I was.
Okay, let me ask you this then, because that's a really good point that you've raised there. That you say it's about the Arsenal's the priority, right? That's for you. The Arsenal is the number one. Saliba, right? Saliba's this kid that's coming with a hell of a lot of potential, a player that we really want to see succeed at Arsenal. But the information that's come out recently is very much that his camp, his reps, himself, feel that the month that they're going to have to prove to Arteta, the month they're going to have to prove in pre-season, that's not enough. And they feel that he's done enough to already kind of justify a place in the squad. Do you think that there is maybe a little bit of expectation on his shoulders that he should already be in the team starting? And if that is the case, and Arteta and the management and the club feel that he's not yet there and he wants to leave, are you fine with that? Because is that not him putting himself maybe ahead of this? Is obviously, I'm just asking you the question. This is not how I feel. But do you think that he could, or rather he is maybe acting in a way a little bit, not spoiled, but expectant that he should be in the team already?
Is he, what you're probably basically trying to say is he's acting like a prima donna or something, like he's...
In the most polite way possible, am I saying that he's got an expectation that he should be getting more minutes now? And does he have a right to that expectation, I suppose, is the best way?
The guy he's supposed to be battling it out with should be the feeling that the projection or the sentiment that you're trying to convey right now. I feel about that, not with Saliba. I feel it with Mavropanos. Because he's the player that I feel that his ceiling is, he proved himself like in Stuttgart and the way he plays in the Bundesliga, getting man of the match performances every time. And Sven brought him, and Sven's going to take him back again in his club, I think so, right? He's beginning why doesn't he get a chance? Saliba, I don't know. Yeah, there might be some attitude problems, some maturity issues. I don't know what's... Basically, yeah, so... For that, I could forgive for that. Maybe for 1 month. 1 month should be enough for the Arteta to see you and say, yo, I don't really like you. I don't rate you. Sure. We're going to loan you out, or we're going to bring Tapsoba. We're going to cash in on you. You're young. You have a high ceiling. You're rated in France. Everybody seems to like you there. So why don't you go back there with another club like Lyon or Marseille? So basically, go start there.
You wouldn't say the club has then failed Saliba by not giving him that chance, like because you're saying there that you got a month, you give him those pre-season games. If he doesn't show enough there, then he's not rated enough and he has to go.
Yeah, and cash in on him because he's quite young, right? He has like what can we get for him? Arsenal got him for how much? Basically 17 or 19, I don't know. So if you get 25 for
18 he was when we got him,
Yeah, so if you get 25 for him right now...
Oh, sorry, no, his price was 28 million when we signed him. He was 18 years old. It was 28 million when we signed him.
No. He has to stay for 1 more season at least.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's changed your mind. That's fine. No, it's great. You're allowed to change your mind. It's great. That's what we encourage to do it.
28 million, Tom. 28 million for a guy that's highly rated. I don't know. We have to see something. He didn't get a chance. At least play in the Carling Cup. Carling Cup. You had the Carling Cup. You had a couple of competitions, like local competitions. Why don't you play him there? Arteta seems to like who he wants to like, not who he has to play.
Sure.
He has that mentality. I don't know what's up with him, but he has to I'm until now that all the issues that Arteta have done, the way he messed up the Europa League, I give him with the transfer window and the summer, I give him till December. If he doesn't fix up, go away.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I mean, I love the fact that you were presented with new information and you changed your mind, and I completely respect that.
That's what you promote. That's what you promote.
Exactly,
right?
100%, mate. That's what it's about, son. Anyway, absolute pleasure, Iso, having you on as always. Tell people where they can find you if you want them to. If you don't, then you can just hit out.
I'm anonymous.
There you go. Here he is.
Except for the Gooner talk.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, mate. I'll see you in the Discord. Have a good one, son.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good one. See you later. Thank you so much, Iso, for joining us on the show. Brilliant stuff. And we promote people changing their minds when they are given new information. if you're wrong, you're wrong. And I've been wrong a hell of a lot. And if you come into the channel, you come into the chat and you want to change your mind about something, that's what we're all about. So massive thanks to Isoa for jumping on. We're going to go and get another guest on in just a second. We're going to go get some of your comments first, though, in the chat box and see what you guys are saying. Yo-Yo says, Saliba made such a mistake joining this club. Hope he gets to leave sooner rather than later. I disagree 100%. I hope he stays. I hope he proves himself. And I really genuinely hope he succeeds at the club. Saeed says, Inter, are you stupid? Check the stats. Inter? Who's Inter? Check the stats and you are again. Say what he's done. He's performed consistently. Anyway, Saeed, let's not call people stupid in the chat box. In fact, let's say you get timed out for those 5 minutes. Respect and only respect for the guests. Wayne Sage says, Arsenal fans are so emotional. They hear a link to a certain player, and if that player isn't signed, the entire transfer window is a disaster. Chaos, absolute chaos. I think it is a disaster if we don't actually get a player in. Easy does it. Let's get another guest on the channel. It's Elias. How you doing, mate? Are you well? Are you good?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'm very good. Thank you. And you? You good?
Yes, good. Joining us from Quebec, Canada. Is that right?
Yeah. The French part of Canada. Yeah.
Yes. Are you fluent in French? Is that so? Conversations with Saliba would be no problem at all.
Lacazette, Aubameyang, everyone.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. Let's talk. I mean, we were just talking there about Saliba.
Yeah.
If you were, let's say you're in that situation, you're in a room with Saliba and a conversation with this guy in your native tongue, and you're talking with him, and tell me, what would you say to him in regards to this situation that we found ourselves in? Would you be encouraging him to look, you're 20 years old at this stage. You've got a lot more development still to do. Do you think that you would need to encourage him more, or do you think it'd be an easy job? I'm worrying that you may have disconnected because that is a frozen face on my screen. We're going to get Elias back very, very quickly. You see how quick I noticed that? He'll be back in a second, Elias, I'm sure. He's back. He is.
Yeah,
he's here.
I'm back. Sorry for the bad connection.
It's fine.
I heard, yeah. So for Saliba, like, I know I'm from the new generation of football, and football was totally different in the past.
Your opinion is still just as valid, mate. So talk.
Yeah. So the thing is, with Saliba, he's 20 years old, and the thing is, how many top 6 teams have like a partnership in the back with someone that is 23 and another one that is 20 years old? So I think for me, he's got to like prove himself. Like, Arsenal are much bigger than Nice, they're much bigger than Saint-Etienne, and like he's got to like buckle down and actually fight for his place, because let's be honest, he's nowhere near for me, the Arsenal mentality. I think he has shown a bit of arrogance in some of his interviews, and I would not say he reminds me of Guendouzi. I hope not. I really hope he doesn't remind me of Guendouzi.
Yeah.
But he's got to show me more than this, and that's for me the Arsenal way. The Arsenal way is not only like, by your name or by your you've got to prove yourself at the club first.
I think it's obviously an important thing when you come to a club like Arsenal. There's a bit of humility sometimes I think you need to have. Not even just at Arsenal. Being a footballer is an incredibly privileged position to be in. It's a privileged position because you get to do what you love on a daily basis, and you get to play football, which is another obviously great thing to be able to do. And I do get the feeling that if you're not happy at 20 years old to be given the opportunity to prove yourself at Arsenal, there is something about that. Now, I don't actually believe he has been given a fair shot at the right time. I also believe he has been mismanaged and was mismanaged at the end of the last summer transfer window, when obviously we didn't get that loan sorted for him if we wanted to let him go. But it is still a very difficult situation, especially when you see him go to Nice, conduct about 27 interviews talking about Mikel Arteta any time. It does frustrate, and I think there is a fair argument to say that he does cause frustration. Anyway, I don't want to linger on Saliba. I do want to ask you about other things. Who has most excited you about who Arsenal have been linked to so far this window?
Well, I haven't been excited with no player at this moment. Like, for me, what excites me is, of course, it's unrealistic, but Neymar, Messi, that's what excites me the most. But
yeah.
I'm really looking forward to a player in the ilk of Ruben Neves, because I've looked at Bissouma and we looked at, because the thing with Bissouma and the difference between the two is that we looked at the tactical breakdowns, and the passing of Bissouma really worries me for a club like Arsenal and the way we want to play. And Ruben Neves would be someone that for me would do even better than what he did with Wolves because of the players he's got around, the system. And I think that's a player really that excites me more in the, not necessarily the name, it's really the tactical side of it.
Yeah.
And a real passer. Locatelli is someone that I'm also interested in. So someone that could.
I think that would be very unrealistic now.
Yeah, very of course, yeah. But I hope so still. But yeah, a real passer would be the main target for me to be with Thomas Partey, and then the Congo to be the backup of Thomas Partey.
What's annoyed you about this transfer window so far? What's really got on your nerves about this window so far? Or are you chilled?
Say,
you might even be quite chilled about it.
Yeah, I'm really chilled. I would say the fans, because I don't want to attack
Be careful.
fans. But,
they are listening.
yeah. Yeah. Because on social media, I look at so many reactions, so overreactions. I see fans saying, "Oh, look at Arteta, look at the board. We haven't bought Buendia, a championship player." I'm like, come on, man. It's Buendia. It's not.
I didn't sign Buendia, to be fair.
I mean, okay. I have to be honest.
No,
I was
it's fine.
also
It's
pissed.
fine.
I was not happy.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
I felt like I overreacted in that moment about Buendia not signing. I really did, and I think there is an element of, when you do obviously go on social media, which you are on social, and I'll let you plug that in a second. When you're on it, it is very easy to see a massive swash of chaos and anger towards kind of the Arsenal or the club in general, because we are very annoyed by the way that it's run. Quite rightly, it is and has been run very, very badly. But I do feel that there's, for me anyway, there is a bit of a moment right now where we do need to take a step back and realise it's the 18th of June. There's a hell of a lot longer of this window still to go and a lot to change. So my final question to you, Elias, is to ask, what is your expectation for the window? What are you, not your hope, but genuinely what you think realistically Arsenal are going to do this window?
Well, the first thing I think we'll sell, because every summer we say like we need to ship as many players as possible. I think this is going to be the summer we're going to see the most exits, and I think that's very realistic. And the second thing, I could see definitely 2 midfielders. I think that's very realistic. But 2 midfielders, I'd say the number 10 is not midfielder for me. So like the in the pivot, and I think Ben White looks really likely. And to be fair, I think maybe we're not going to spend 250 million. There is no way we're going to spend that. Maybe like surpassing the 150 million gap because of the sales. I think that would be realistic, and I think that should be enough. That not that there should be enough for top 4.
Wow, that is a big call. Remember how many teams there are? There's like 9 teams now that want top 4. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah,
I really appreciate your time, Elias. I hope you've enjoyed your moment on the show and
Thank
giving
you.
a chance to answer your questions. Give a shout out for your social media so people can go give you a follow. You've actually received quite a lot of love in the chat, which is great to see as well.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So tell people where they can find you.
Well, it's Elias, my name, _ AFC on Twitter. That's it.
Okay. So I've been pronouncing that wrong the entire time, but it's
Elias, it's Elias. Oh, it's
right.
Yeah.
Just so listeners, he put an E when I asked him, all right? So I was just going off on. No, it's all good. Thank you, mate. I really appreciate your time. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Bye. Thank you very much.
See you later. Bye-bye. Have a good one. Right, a massive thank you to Elias and, of course, to Isowa and all of our guests that have been on today. We've had a fantastic group of people, Michael and Rashant as well. Really, I mean, it amazes me every single time when we talk to the different people on the channel, because you genuinely are so knowledgeable about this game. And what's funny is I was sitting there going when Elias was talking and says, on the tactical breakdowns, I'm saying, wow, these shows are actually having a bit of an impact, more than I thought. So, which is great. It's fantastic. And it's great to see you guys throwing the love out for our guests as well. That's great. And the fact that you guys are showing support for these people that may have never, ever been on a live podcast or live show before is so great. And we have really built up an amazing community here, and we continue to allow it to grow. Fingers crossed. We've still got 10 minutes or so left. So, I mean, if there is any last minute people that would like to come on, you can. We have no one else lined up so far, but if you want to send us a DM over at the Gooner Talk TV, you've been inspired by some of the people that come on, then send me a DM and we'll try and get you on. Drop a like on the video as well while you're here, and subscribe to the channel as well to get all of your Arsenal content. We'll be back at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, but we've still got 10 minutes. So let's get through some of your comments in the chat box. Yo-Yo says, Arsenal have struggled to sell their players for years. Barca, PSG no longer want Hector Bellerin, which is obviously a situation that we find ourselves in, that he is going to be going to most likely Spain. He doesn't really want to go to another English club, which I have complete respect for. And you've got to turn around and say, look, if he doesn't want to play for another English club, that's been something that quite a few other players that have left Arsenal have not had that same level of respect, which is great. And I think that when you look at him going, it's going to be a moment where we look back and we go, I appreciate the time that you were here. I think there was real potential in your game, but it probably is, the right moment, the right time for him to move on. If we can get, say, £20 million for him, I think that's a really, really good deal for Arsenal to reinvest. You may even be able to get his, say, replacement in for around the same kind of figure. So it tells me that Ajax have signed a new goal. I know that they were linked with, I can't remember who it was. You may be able to tell me. They were linked with one, but the fact they've got him in does tell us that Onana is leaving. I think that Onana was going to leave no matter what, and obviously they do start the season without him playing because of his ban until November. But, it could be the first domino that needs to fall. Jashar says, hi, Tom. Do you think that the biggest prime donna do you mean prima donna? I think you do. The biggest prima donna at Arsenal is Arteta himself. Wow. I do think there is an element of Arteta believing that maybe he is a little bit further along in his managerial development than he realistically is. But the biggest, I'm not sure about the biggest. I think there's a few more at the club that do believe they're a lot better than they actually are. I believe Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and whilst he was, and let's arguably still is the TGT mascot, Mainsley. I do get a sense from Mainsley in the way he conducts some of his interviews, the way that he talks. I feel like he thinks is a lot better than what he's shown so far, and that's a real struggle for kind of managers to have that situation and to deal with that, because he thinks he should be starting. And I personally don't think that Maitland-Niles starts in this team at the moment. Right back, centre midfield, left back, anywhere right now. So it's a tricky one. I think there's other players in the club that think they could be getting a lot more minutes than they currently are. And it's a really difficult situation to try and, to manage. So we've got to think about that. Ed in the chat says, everyone says we are bad at selling, but is it that we have a poor amount of players to sell? There's never a queue lined up for any, and they are on their way out. Arguably, yes, mate. Ed, we do have players that are very much surplus to Arsenal. And if you're a surplus player to Arsenal, a club that are languishing in 8th place and have been for the last 2 seasons, you are going to find it difficult to sell your players. And that's probably why we are finding that we're going to have to take some cut price deals for our players as well. And it's not a great place to be in. It's not where you want to be. You want to be in a situation where you've got players that people are queuing up to sign. You look at Liverpool, for instance. We talk about how on earth can we let Mavropanos go for 7 million, but they're able to sell Solanke for 20, Jordan Ibe for 15, Brewster for 24. How can they do that? And yet we're sitting here and letting our players leave for like pennies. The reason is because Liverpool have historically sold very, very well. And they know that whoever comes in for them, they can turn around and be like, look, we don't need the money because we've sold very well in the past. If you want to pay and you want to get this player, you're going to need to pay what the asking price is. And if you don't, then you don't get him, and it's no skin off our back because they don't need the money. Whereas Arsenal, we need the money. And the clubs buying those players know that. And so when they come in to negotiate for one of our players, obviously it becomes a situation where they can go, yeah, you might want 20 million for that guy, but I know that you need the money, so I'm going to offer you 10 to 15 million. And the likelihood is that you're probably going to accept it. And if you're not going to accept it, then I'm going to go get another player, because to be honest, the player that we're after, we could probably get from a whole host of other clubs for the same amount of quality, because he's not that great. So it does put us in a very, very difficult situation. Jashar says, Tom, do you think the volume of transfer work required is too much for Edu and Arteta? Probably. That's why they got Richard Garlick in. So, yeah, it probably was why they got another player in. Dushant says, Isaac for £60 million. Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? I always go down the route of saying, look, it's not my money. And, if it's not my money, as long as they come in, I'm not that fussed. But always the big caveat is that if I go and say, yes, I'd take Isaac for 60 million, is that going to affect who else Arsenal are going to buy? If the answer is yes, it is going to affect who else Arsenal is going to buy, then I'm going to be like, we have other priorities. We need central midfield. We need an attacking midfielder. We need a right back. We arguably now seemingly need a centre back. So if you were saying to me, look, you've got your positions, you've got your centre back, you've got your centre midfielder, you've got your attacking midfielder, you've got your right back, you've got your backup left back, your backup goalkeeper, maybe even starting goalkeeper, and one of Lacazette or Aubameyang's going to go, then yeah, I'd snap your wrists off, as Johnny said the other day on the tactical breakdown for Ramsdale. but again, do you understand what I'm saying? The context around, say, would I take that player is really difficult to kind of answer. But there you go. I hope that answers your question. Dominic Reed says, how much money has Arteta lost Arsenal on poor management? It's an interesting question, because if you think about the players that we're going to look to sell, Granit Xhaka had one of the best seasons that he's had at the club. Has his value diminished? No. Lucas Torreira, that situation has been handled quite poorly. So you would say, yes, we've lost money on that one. You look at Bukayo Saka and Smith Rowe. Has Arteta gained us money by playing those guys? Yes. So I don't think he's necessarily lost overall money for Arsenal because of the players that have improved under his tenure so far. But it has been too much. Like the players that we have mismanaged, the players that we have lost value on, it's too much. And it is, despite the fact that we've made money in other areas, it's not good enough. And we need to make sure that in the future we manage players that want to go much, much better. That's the problem. Hong says, Tom, Grealish or Madison, which one is better? I would personally say that Grealish is on a different level to Madison, hence why he's in the England team over Madison. He can play in multiple positions, and I think he'd be going for a lot more money than Madison will go for. So I certainly would pick that. Gordon says, Under or Zaha? Zaha, 100%. I wouldn't pick either of them, to be honest, but Zaha over Under any day. Yanis says, high defensive line incoming with Saliba, White and Gabriel. More on the front foot. I really am more open to the three at the back system. I think it's one that maybe we're sleeping on a little bit. I know that we had issues with that at the start of the last season, but I feel that was more down to personnel. And I think that was down to basically our main guys having a real off time at the start of the season. But against Fulham, and I know it's only Fulham, but you think back to the FA Cup wins as well against Chelsea and Man City. With that 3-4-3 worked for us. And I think we've got a lot of players that will work in that system. So there's a lot to take in. There's a lot to deal with in that situation. But it's going to be interesting to see the formation that we do go with, considering we're looking likely to bring in a big centre-back this summer. Christos says, I don't think I've seen Christos in the chat before, so welcome, Christos. Says, hi, Tom. Do you think that we will buy a striker or a winger? I don't think either are on the priority list. I don't really count Buendia as a winger, even though he does play on the right. You look at him as kind of your number 7 rather than a right winger. But I think Arsenal would look at more of maybe a wider player that can have that potential to come inside, like we talked about with Buendia or with Grealish as well. And I don't think Grealish is realistic, but in that style, than a striker, because I think I don't see Lacazette going at the moment in time. I might be wrong, but I don't see him going this summer at the moment. So, it's I think I would think I'd see us going more for the wider player, but not necessarily, as you say, an out-and-out winger. If it was an out-and-out winger that you want to say that or a striker, then I think a striker is more realistic. But yeah, certainly a more wide forwards or inside kind of wide number 10 that can play like Smith Rowe can play in a wide position yet play centrally, or Buendia, as we've already talked about. So those types of players. Alex says, regardless of who we sign and the quantity of incomings, I can see Arteta losing his job this season. I really can. And Alex, who could blame you for having that opinion based upon the season that we had last season? No one could blame you for thinking that Arteta still might lose his job even if we back him. He's still inexperienced. He's still got problems. He was still inconsistent. He still made consistent errors. So, of course, I'm not going to say that that's not a situation that it could happen, because it could happen. I hope it doesn't, but it could. And that's the situation that we find ourselves in. Killian, welcome to the chat box. He says, hi, Tom. Sorry, I already asked, or maybe you've seen it, but what are your thoughts? That's fine, mate. Killian, if I don't see your question, as long as you're not spamming the chat every second with it, throw it back in a couple of minutes later. And as we've seen here, I'll try and pick it out for you. So no, don't apologize. Says, sorry, I already asked, or maybe you've seen it, but what are your thoughts on the Sun claiming that Arsenal are about to launch a bid for Aouar? I know they are not very reliable, but I would like it. Well, reliability is, hearsay. Aouar, if it was to happen, we touched on this a little bit earlier, and effectively for £20 million, Yannick in the chat, it's a clock is right twice a day. That's really mean. But no, Yannick said that with a £20 million signing of like Aouar, the likelihood is that whatever happens is you can probably make a profit on that because of his age and his potential. So, and I do agree with that. So I think that it's ultimately, it is going to be a situation where it's a favourable deal for 20 million quid. Do I think it will happen? I don't know. I don't like committing to things, as you can see, but I genuinely don't know if that's a likely deal. I don't know if Lyon would accept that amount of money. I know that they need money because of the whole TV rights situation in France, but it's a really difficult one. Vinny says, we're 5 likes away from 100 likes. Come on, guys, let's get out to 100 likes, people in the chat box. We appreciate the hard work that goes into making these shows. I've been doing multitasking like crazy, getting people on the show, managing the chat box, hosting a show at the same time, non-stop talking for an hour. So let's get your thoughts and feelings into the chat box, into the comment section, and also pressing that like button. But that is probably going to round off today's show because it has been and just has hit the hour mark on the show. Thank you ever so much, guys, for tuning in. I'm sorry I didn't get to answer all of your questions. We do a Q&A on the end of our 8 a.m. shows every single day. We do this show on a Friday every single week. It is at a different time because of the European Championships on right now. I don't even know how the Sweden game finished, but I'll be interested to see that. I think they scored a penalty, or Forsberg did. So maybe they won 1-0, in which case, great. I think that this has been a fantastic show. I think we've had some great people come on and give their thoughts and feelings. And I do want to try and do this more. I wish there was more interest, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like loads of people were sitting here and sending in DMs. So if I would like to get more people on, get kind of people's different views and opinions. If you're over 18 years of age, if you've got a good camera, microphone, and it can be just like on your headset. Like that's all I mean by like a good mic. It doesn't have to be your top of the line stuff. So if you are interested in having your opinion heard and you want to get on the show, send us a DM, and then the next time that we do one of these phone-in shows, you can come on. So that'd be great. Thank you ever so much, guys, for tuning in. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. A massive congratulations to Zane, who won our free ticket for the signed Gilberto Silva shirt. Best of luck to everyone that enters the competition, and I hope you win, whoever you are. See you again very soon, guys, and as always, up the Arsenal.